Hey, what's up, guys? It is your girl, Coach Leanne, down here at AM Fitness in Plainville. Today I am going to be bringing you some more information about ankle mobility. So a topic that I have discussed many a time in the past because it's very important, especially when we're talking in terms of our squatting. And we do a lot of squatting in our large group program. We do it in our semi-privates. We do it in our small group programs. The squat is one of our basic foundational movements. So to have good ankle mobility in our squat is going to help us create a little bit more range of motion, which is going to help us build a little bit more strength and get better at our squats. So because so many of us are lacking in ankle mobility, I wanted to bring you a little bit more stuff just to kind of add on to what we talked about in the past and try to take you just another step further in your training. So the first thing that we really want to do when we're dealing with our ankle mobility is test our ankle mobility. So let's see where we are when we start, and let's see what it is that's causing our deficit in our ankle mobility. So ideally we would use a wall. At the moment what I'm going to use is just the rack, and you can use that too, and that's fine. And we want to try to figure out what our ankle mobility really looks like. So a lot of us are just starting with our toe right against the wall. Can we touch? Okay, cool. Most of us should be able to do that. If we can't, then automatically red flag. There's something going on that we need to fix. And then from there, we start to scoot the foot a little further back. Can I still touch from here? Good. And now when we're talking about the knee touching, we're not letting the heel come up to do that. Because, I mean, I could start with my foot here and lift my heel up and touch my knee all day long, but I haven't used ankle mobility. So what we're talking about is this angle here. So this is neutral. This is my 90-degree angle. What kind of an angle can I come into for my ankle mobility? So we can use that to kind of test how far back we can go. Ideally, really in the lifting world, what they use is this kind of marker where we create a fist and we extend our thumb. So this kind of distance is where we want our foot to be in order to get really decent ankle mobility. Like this is ideal for best case scenario for our squats. Now, a lot of us probably aren't going to be able to accomplish that. Doesn't mean that we aren't safe to squat. It just means that we probably have some work to do. Now, the other thing we're going to do with that test is not just how good is my ankle mobility, how deep of an angle can I get, but it's also going to be where am I feeling that stopping? Like what is it that's keeping my ankle from gaining a better angle? When I'm coming forward, am I feeling the stopping happening in the back of my ankle, or am I feeling it in the front of my ankle? Because that's going to kind of dictate what we go after next. So if we're feeling both, it's not necessarily wrong, and we can fix both things, and you can do both things, whether you feel both or not. When we're talking about the back of the ankle, if we're feeling some pulling kind of more in that Achilles tendon, really what we want to focus on is the back of the leg. We're focusing on the calf muscles. So in that case, the first thing we're going to do, and I'm not going to show you because I think most of you have seen videos on this before, is to grab a foam roller, the PVC pipe, a lacrosse ball, and just make sure that we're rolling that area to try to loosen up the calves first. But then from there, the next trick that I'm going to show you, we're going to actually use a little bit of weight to help stretch the calves. So I have just grabbed myself a kettlebell. I would say, the 16 kilogram, maybe a little bit higher is probably a good starting place. It's going to depend a little bit upon your strength if you can hold it up. We're going to bring it into a goblet position. So once it's up in front of us, we're going to sit into our squat, and we're actually going to rest our elbows on our knees. And now from here, I'm just going to pick a leg, and I'm going to focus on it. So since I'm already kind of working with my left leg, I'm going to shift kind of onto my left leg a little bit. I'm going to hold for up to 15 seconds. I'm going to kind of come back to neutral. I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do a couple of reps here, maybe 5 up to 10, somewhere in there, and just kind of keep shifting back and forth. So what we should start to feel is a pull in the back of our calf when we're stretching back and forth. That's just kind of allowing this to stretch out a little bit more when we're pushing that ankle forward. So when we go with a heavier kettlebell, it's just more weight that's pushing your knee forward. So I mean, it would be essentially the same thing as if you were using your hands to push your knee forward, but instead of trying to use your own body weight, you have the weight of the kettlebell. So it's going to allow you to come a little bit deeper into that stretch. So after we've stretched out our calves, or if we've determined that maybe that's not something that we really need to focus on, again, as I say, that's the pain in the back of your ankle. If you've determined that the front of your ankle is the bigger stopping point, then really what we're talking about is the joint. So what we need to try to do is kind of create a gapping effect in that subtalar joint of the ankle, so that instead of the joint stopping us, it kind of rolls a little bit better. We've got a little bit of that gapping sensation. It rolls into that forward position a little bit better. So the best way for us to accomplish that, you've seen this band before, you've probably done the banded ankle mobility with me before, but I'm gonna kick it up a notch. So we're going to attach it to our pole. And you'll notice I'm doing this without shoes, and that is intentional. This is best done without shoes because we need that band to be as low on our ankle as possible because we need it to get into that subtalar joint. So if I am wearing shoes and the tongue comes up kind of high and I have to put the band here, we're not gaining nearly the same thing because now I don't have the resistance pushing my heel into the ground as a bonus, but I definitely am not going to be able to get it nice and low, and I'm not going to get it into the ankle joint very well. So kick the shoes off, get the band nice and low. We're going to take a big step forward. So we've got lots of resistance on the band, so it's helping to keep your heel down. And then we're going to take the opposite foot, and we're actually going to sit it on the band. So what we want to do is use that foot to help create that angle. So now it's going to help the band sit into the joint a little bit better. Now from here, same thing, we can just start to push the knee forward over the toe. We're not really so worried about the heel coming up because we have the pressure of the band pulling it back. But again, we also have that band that's helping to gap the joint in the ankle. So that should be helping us to get a little bit deeper. So when we're pushing forward, ideally we're holding for maybe a 2-3 second count or something, and then coming back, and hopefully we're finding that as we go, we start to get a little bit more range. Now, if this position makes you a little bit nervous, if you're more comfortable with the more like the traditional lunge kind of staggered stance position, then what we can do is actually elevate ourselves with a step. Now just be warned that the step does slide a little bit, so you have to be very careful when you're getting yourself set up. But if we're here, get the band nice and low on the ankle, get your free foot up here first, pull the foot up, make sure the heel is just off the edge, then we can come into that staggered stance. So now we still have that angle of the band pulling down, and we can still push the knee forward and come back, making sure that that line of pull is still directly behind us, that we're not going in any which direction. So go ahead and give those a shot. If you have any questions on how to perform any of them, or if you're not really sure why one is better than the other, go ahead and talk to any one of your coaches and we'll help you out. Otherwise, we'll see you at your next training session.